In a world where the line between hero and victim blurs, 13 thought they had struck gold, another wealthy American to hold for ransom. But when the lights flickered out and the whispers of children filled the air, they realized too late that they had ensnared the wrong man. Keanu Reeves. This isn't a Hollywood script. This is the reality of a gang that chose the wrong target. Stick around, because this time, Keanu isn't just playing a role. The sun barely peeked over the mountains of southern Honduras when Keanu Reeves emerged from a community center with dirt floors. His shirt clung to him, damp with sweat, and his hands were still coated in dried cement. All morning, he had been pouring the foundation for a new schoolhouse. No cameras, no press, no entourage. Just the quiet satisfaction of hard work and the grateful smiles of children who had little but knew how to smile as if they had everything. Keanu had come alone, using a false name. Not for secrecy, but because in places like this, fame often got in the way. They didn't need John Wick. They needed concrete, electricity, and someone to listen. He nodded to an elderly woman sitting beneath a rusted awning before climbing into the back of a battered Toyota Hilux. The driver, Miguel, was barely 20. His English limited to bursts of movie quotes, mostly from The Matrix. The road back to Tegucigalpa twisted along steep ridges, with thick jungle pressing in from all sides, dense and alive. It was peaceful. Until it wasn't. A freshly cut tree blocked the road, sap still dripping. Miguel swore and stopped the truck. "Too perfect," Keanu muttered, already reaching for the door handle. That's when they struck. 5 masked men with arms inked in jagged black tattoos. One had MS crudely carved into his neck. Another wore a necklace of bullets. The ambush was swift and brutal. Miguel tried to reverse, but a second truck slammed into them from behind. The driver's door flung open, yanking Miguel out with a shout. Keanu stepped out, hands raised. "Hey, we don't want trouble." A rifle butt smashed into his cheek, and darkness enveloped him. He awoke to pain, wrists bound with cable ties, ankles strapped to a metal chair bolted to the floor. A dim light bulb flickered above, the air thick with the stench of sweat, gasoline, and old blood. 2 men stood nearby, arguing in Spanish. One held a phone, scrolling, while the other chewed on a matchstick. "He's American," one said. "Probably rich." "What's his name?" "Passport says John Marcus." No social media, but look at him. They turned toward him. A third man entered, older, eyes sharp like broken glass. "Who is he?" he asked in English. Keanu didn't answer. The man stepped closer, pulled the hood from Keanu's face, and chuckled. "Another gringo playing hero in our backyard." He spat on the floor. "Let's sell him. American meat fetches good prices." Keanu coughed, tasting blood, then smiled. "You really think I'm the one who should be scared right now?" The man frowned. "What?" Keanu leaned forward, eyes burning. "You just kidnapped the wrong man." The cell was small, cinder block walls closing in, painted a sickly green that flaked under the weight of heat and neglect. A single light bulb swung above, buzzing like a dying mosquito. His face throbbed. Blood crusted along the edge of his mouth, and his left eye began to swell shut. The cable ties cut into his wrists, now sticky with dried blood and sweat. The taste of metal filled his mouth, but he was alive for now. Footsteps echoed outside the cell. 2 pairs, uneven. One man laughed, a laugh that didn't rise from humor but from certainty, the certainty of power. The door creaked open, and a man strolled in, no mask this time. Young, wiry, tattoos curling up his neck and down his arms like smoke. He wore a cheap gold chain and a smirk born from 1,000 hours of cruelty. Behind him stood a second man, taller and bulkier, eyes dull as cement, holding a phone and recording. "Welcome to paradise," the skinny one said in accented English. "I'm Ricky, that's Choco. Don't mind the camera. You're trending already." He pointed the phone at Keanu, zooming in. "The boss wants to auction you off to a friend of the cartel. Says Americans get good bids if they're still breathing." Choco laughed, deep and slow, tossing a bottle of water on the floor. just out of Keanu's reach. Keanu didn't move, he just stared. Ricky crouched down, mock sympathy in his voice. "What, too tired to beg? You should beg. Maybe we won't take your fingers tonight." Still Keanu said nothing. Ricky's smile faltered. Then he pulled out a small folding knife, flicking the blade open. He waved it like a conductor's baton. "I always start with the cheek. It bleeds pretty." He brought the knife close to Keanu's face. Keanu didn't flinch. He leaned into it. That stopped Ricky. "You think you're tough," he whispered. Keanu looked him dead in the eye. "No, I think I'm patient." Was. Ricky's grin faltered again. Then Keanu added, voice low, "When I get out of this chair, I won't come for you first. I'll let you watch." Ricky stood up fast, wiping sweat from his brow. "You're insane." "Maybe," Keanu said, smiling through blood. "But you're on camera too, remember?" Choco froze. Keanu nodded at the phone. "You just streamed a federal crime. Even your boss can't clean that." For the first time, the two men looked at each other. Keanu leaned back in the chair, and the light bulb above him flickered once, then went dark. In the silence that followed, only one thing was certain. Something in that room had shifted, and it wasn't the air. The darkness was total. When the flickering bulb finally gave out, it wasn't replaced. The entire compound seemed to sink into a deeper silence, as if the jungle itself was holding its breath. Keanu stayed still. Still in the chair, still in the ropes, still bleeding. But behind his silence, behind the bruises and cooling sweat, his mind was calculating, measuring, listening. Choco and Ricky had stormed out an hour ago after a final shove to his ribs and a few more threats. Frustrated that he wouldn't scream or cry, they locked the door, laughing, leaving Keanu alone in the dark. They didn't know they'd left him with something worse than anger, time. Keanu flexed his hands slowly, subtly testing the cable ties again. They were cinched tight, but blood and sweat had made his skin slick. He shifted his weight forward, then twisted hard until the edge of the wooden chair dug into the plastic restraint. Pain shot through his wrist, but the left tie split open. His hand fell free. He winced, working fast before the blood flow could return and swell the joint. He popped his right hand loose in 3 movements. Years ago, he had been trained for a role that never made it to screen, something involving covert escape. The advisor on set had been ex-Delta Force. He'd taught Keanu a trick with cable ties. "You'll never need it," he'd said with a wink. Turns out he was wrong. Keanu dropped low, crawling to the corner of the room where Choco had tossed the water bottle. He drank quickly, just enough to keep focus, then wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. In the darkness, his eyes adjusted. The door had a steel handle and a keyhole, but also a weak bottom hinge, rusted. He slid a loose shard of wood from the chair leg and used it to pry at the hinge. Minutes passed. Then clink. The bottom hinge dropped softly against his bare foot. He held his breath. Nothing. The top hinge came next. He pushed, and the door groaned, then tilted forward and fell silently onto the floor like a collapsing shadow. Keanu stepped out. The hallway was lit by a faint red bulb overhead. A generator thumped somewhere in the distance. Low, dying. One guard slept in a folding chair. Another scrolled through his phone, earbuds in. Keanu picked up a metal rod from a nearby toolbox. Quiet footstep. One swing, one breath. The first guard slumped without a sound. The second didn't even turn in time. Keanu took the phone. It had maps, videos, contacts. Perfect. He opened a metal door at the end of the corridor. Inside, 4 children, maybe 8 or 9 years old, were chained to a radiator. One looked up. "Are you the man from the movies?" Keanu smiled grimly. "No, I'm the man who's getting you out." The children stared at Keanu as if he'd dropped out of a dream. 4 of them huddled against the far wall of the storage room. Their ankles were cuffed, but their eyes were wide. Some in terror, some in awe. He moved slowly, crouching down, holding the keyring he'd taken from the unconscious guard. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently, unlocking the first pair of cuffs. The smallest boy, maybe 6, whispered, "Are you really John Wick?" Keanu paused, looking into the boy's eyes. Fear, hope, belief. He smiled faintly. "No, but I know him well." The boy nodded solemnly, as if that were good enough. Once all 4 were freed, Keanu led them through the darkened corridor, careful not to make a sound. Outside the cells, the compound was eerily quiet. The generator coughed and sputtered in the distance. A teenage girl emerged from the next hallway, her face bruised but alert. She'd picked the lock to her own door using the sharp edge of a spoon. "There's more of us," she whispered, deeper in. "A lot more." "How many?" Keanu asked. She hesitated. 20, 30, he exhaled. "Too many for one man to carry out. Too many to abandon." They ducked into a boiler room to regroup. Keanu scanned the schematics on the stolen phone. That's when he saw it. A sealed tunnel entrance beneath the northwest quadrant, unmarked on the official layout. He frowned. This compound had been modified. The girl leaned over his shoulder. "They call it the pit. Only the boss goes down there." "And what's down there?" She hesitated, then whispered, "The ones they don't plan to sell." Keanu's jaw tightened. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was a hunt, and it wasn't over until the last child walked out and the last monster didn't. Keanu crouched low beside the rusted hatch at the far end of the compound, one hand on the handle, the other holding a stolen Glock 19. The children were hidden safely in the boiler room under the protection of the teenage girl, Lucia, who refused to leave. Even after Keanu insisted, she just looked him in the eye and said, "I've seen monsters. I'm not afraid of you." "Fair enough." He twisted the hatch. It creaked open, revealing a set of narrow metal stairs slick with humidity. The stench hit him like a wave. Damp earth, rot, diesel, and something sour underneath. He descended slowly, each footfall echoing down the spiral shaft like a warning bow. At the bottom, darkness but not silence. A low hum of electricity, distant coughs, footsteps, and one sharp bark of laughter. Keanu moved through the corridor, gun tight against his chest, every sense sharp, his breath slow and measured. He passed rows of cages, some empty, some holding mattresses stained with old blood. Chains hung from the walls. A single light bulb swayed above. Then he heard the voice. A calm, polished American accent distorted through a speaker system. It was mid-sentence. "The trick isn't controlling the violence. It's channeling it. Fear is a currency, and I've made a fortune." Keanu followed the voice through a security door left slightly ajar. Inside, monitors lined the walls, live feeds from the compound above, dark web auction windows, a blackboard listing weight, age, price, a bunker of hell. At the center stood a man, older, clean-cut, wearing a military field jacket, gray hair slicked back, calm, confident. He didn't look like a gangster. He looked like an officer. He turned slowly when Keanu stepped in, unbothered by the gun. "Mr. Reeves," he said, smiling. "You don't remember me, do you?" Keanu's eyes narrowed. "Langley, 2012. You were prepping for that cancelled Panama film. They sent you to shadow my team for realism." He stepped closer, arms spread. "Victor Dane, CA. Former, of course. Now, free enterprise." Keanu raised the gun. "You're using children. I'm building soldiers. The world is weak. I'm restoring order. And you." Victor chuckled. "You're the last variable. I'm the reckoning," Keanu said flatly. Victor's smile faded. "You won't make it out. You can't take us all." Keanu's expression didn't change. "I'm not trying to," he said, then shot out the power box. The lights went black. Screams echoed up from the tunnels, and somewhere above, Lucia hit the switch. She'd been told to wait for a flare launched through the roof 3 miles away. A signal beacon lit green on a satellite feed. Reinforcements were coming. But first, Keanu moved through the dark. Victor Dane was still down here, and the debt had not yet been paid. Gunfire cracked in the distance. Screams followed. Doors slammed. Radios buzzed frantically as his 13 soldiers scrambled in the chaos of their collapsing empire. Somewhere above, the generator groaned its final breath. The entire compound descended into darkness, and Keanu was the ghost slipping through its veins. He moved with precision, one footfall at a time, each breath quiet and measured. The tunnels were alive with confusion. Guards shouted to one another, unsure who they were fighting. Most still thought they were being raided by a rival gang. None suspected that the storm had been set loose by one man, and Victor Dane knew it. He stood alone in the war room now, staring at the flickering monitors, many already dead. Sweat dotted his brow, not from fear, but from memory. Years ago he'd read the classified file. Keanu Reeves, actor, method subject, enhanced field exposure. The Pentagon's psychological influence program had tried something radical once, pairing trained field agents with Hollywood's best. In 2012, they chose Keanu for a Black Ops culture project designed to bridge reality and media. Victor had trained him. Victor had laughed back then. "He's too soft." He wasn't laughing now. Keanu entered the lower corridor silently. A guard stepped out from a doorway, weapon raised. Keanu didn't hesitate. 2 shots center mass. The man dropped, radio skittering across the concrete. Keanu kept moving. He turned a corner and found another child, no older than 10, alone and shivering. The boy flinched. Keanu knelt. "Are you hurt?" The boy shook his head. "Come with me. Stay close." He handed the boy a small flashlight from the fallen guard's belt. The boy hesitated, then took his hand. Meanwhile, Victor armed the last of his private cash, a silenced pistol and a key fob for the explosives rigged beneath the bunker. If he couldn't salvage the operation, he would erase it. That was doctrine. That was Langley. As he stepped into the corridor, he spoke calmly into his earpiece. "Initiate Ghost Protocol." But there was no reply, only static. Then, from the shadows ahead, a voice. "I remember now," Keanu said, emerging from the dock, gun aimed. Victor smiled. "So you do. I remember you told me fear was a tool." Victor nodded. "And you were always better at using it than I expected. But you forgot something," Keanu said, stepping forward. Victor's eyes narrowed. "What?" Keanu raised the flashlight the boy had given back. It blinked red, custom-rigged. "Signal tracer. You taught me too well." Outside, the beacon hit 100% transmission. 6 miles away, 3 Black Hawks lifted from the jungle canopy. Target acquired. Victor turned to run, but Keanu fired. 1 shot, right knee. Victor dropped, screaming. The ghosts of the agency had returned, and this time they wore no flag. The thunder of rotor blades ripped through the treetops. 3 Black Hawks descended like hammering fists, kicking up clouds of dust and jungle debris. Floodlights pierced the dawn mist as elite operators fanned out in formation, sweeping the compound, calling targets, securing prisoners. Screams turned to silence. Keanu stood at the mouth of the tunnel, blood smeared across his knuckles. His face shadowed in the red dawn glow. Behind him, Lucia guided the last group of rescued children up the stone steps, holding their hands like a shepherd leading lambs from hell. A soldier in black gear jogged up to Keanu. "Sir, evac's ready. Let's go." Keanu didn't answer. The soldier paused, confused. "We have a bird hot, you're clear." Keanu turned. His voice was low. "How many kids left unaccounted for?" The soldier checked his earpiece. 7. Could be dead, could be deeper. Either way, we're pulling out. Command says we've secured the asset. Keanu stared at him, eyes burning. "They're not assets." He stepped past the soldier and walked back toward the compound. The soldier followed. "Sir, you're not cleared to." Keanu stopped and turned. "I came here to find them. I don't leave while they're still in a cage." Lucia looked up from the children. "We can hold this ground. We've got light now." He shook his head slowly. Then let's finish what we started. The pilot's voice barked over the radio. Fuel windows closing. Last evac in 5 minutes. Keanu didn't look back. He slipped into the corridor again, gun in hand, flashlight gripped tight, jaw clenched. In the chopper, the soldier looked at the pilot. "He's not coming," the pilot just muttered. "Then he's not the one being rescued." Below, the jungle swallowed Keanu's figure whole, and from the dark, his voice echoed,